My child, stop right where you are. Do not scroll past this. Do not let the noise of the world convince you to keep moving before you have heard what I need to say to you right now. I am asking you, with all of the love I have ever placed inside a single moment, to stay with me. Because what I am about to share with you is not something you can afford to rush past. It is not something the world is going to hand you in the ordinary course of a distracted day. It is something I have been preparing for this exact meeting, at this exact hour, in this exact moment of your life. And I need you to be present for it. You did not arrive here by chance. I want you to really sit with that sentence before your mind begins to explain it away. There is no such thing as coincidence in my kingdom. There is no algorithm in the universe that operates outside of my hand. Every click, every scroll, every quiet, restless feeling that brought your eyes to these exact words today, I ordered it, I arranged it. I guided your steps here with a precision that the human mind cannot fully comprehend, because I needed you to hear this. I needed the specific sound of my voice to find you in the exact condition you are in right now, in this exact moment of your life, carrying exactly what you are carrying, wondering exactly what you have been wondering, exhausted in exactly the way that you are exhausted. Heaven did not send you here carelessly. Heaven sent you here on purpose, because I have been waiting to share something with you, and the time has finally come. I am here. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? I am not speaking to you from behind glass or through the distant echo of a memory. I am not a voice from long ago that once moved mountains and then went silent and retreated to some unreachable altitude, leaving human beings to figure things out on their own. I am present, right now, in the room where you sit, in the air around your shoulders, in the quiet space between one heartbeat and the next. I am not far. I am not distracted by more important things. I am not saving my attention for someone more worthy of it. I am here, with you, in this specific moment, looking at you with eyes that have never let end away from you, speaking words that were always intended for your ears. I am standing in the room with you, right now, and I am proud of you. Not of the version of you that has everything in order. Not of the version of you that appears strong and unshakable and full of answers when the public is watching. I am not speaking to the curated version of yourself, the one you hold up for the approval of others, the one that gets you through the social performances and the professional demands and the daily work of appearing more put together than you actually feel inside. I am speaking of the real you, the interior one, the one who still gets up even when getting up costs something enormous, the one who still chooses to keep going even when the weight of what you carry makes each step feel like wading through deep water, the one who still searches for me even in the middle of the nights when your faith feels thin and your tears feel closer than your prayers. That is the you I am proud of. That is the you I am speaking to today. And before this message is over, I am going to show you exactly what I shared with you. I am going to open something that has been sealed, and I am going to let you see it clearly for the first time in a very long time. Because you have been living inside a story without knowing all of its pages, and today I am handing you the ones that change everything, the ones that make the hard chapters make sense, the ones that show you that nothing, not a single moment of difficulty or delay or heartbreak or confusion, was wasted. But first, I need you to understand why you are here. Heaven aligned time itself to bring you to this moment. The stirring in your spirit, the restlessness you have been feeling, the quiet pull that has been growing stronger inside you over these past days and weeks and months, that was not confusion. That was not anxiety. That was not something to be managed or medicated or pushed down into the quiet places where you store the things you do not have words for. That was me. That was the movement of heaven drawing your heart toward this exact intersection. I have been preparing this conversation for longer than you know. I have been building toward this moment with the same care I use when I set stars in their courses and call the morning into being, with the same intention I used when I formed you, when I breathed your particular life into existence and knew, even then, that this moment was coming. This conversation was planned before you were born. I want that to settle in you fully. The idea that this exchange, right now, between my voice and your soul, was not improvised. It was not a last-minute spiritual provision scrambled together when I noticed you were struggling. It was designed. It was part of the architecture of your life, built into the structure of your days from the very beginning, waiting for the exact moment when you would be ready to receive what I am about to give. And that moment is now. You are not here by accident. You are here because I love you, and because what I have to say to you is urgent. not with the urgency of fear. I do not come to you with the urgency of fear. I do not need you to panic or strain or make yourself small in anticipation of something terrible coming at you from around a corner. I can all. But with the urgency of a father who sees his child standing at the edge of something magnificent and needs that child to look up, to hear his voice, to receive what is being extended toward them before the moment of turning slips past. Do not let this moment slip past. I know what is happening in your life right now. I know the conversations you have been having inside your own heart in the hours when no one else is awake. I know the questions you have been asking me in the dark, the ones that have no audience, the ones you have not said out loud to another human being because you were not sure anyone would understand, or that the understanding would cost them something they were not prepared to give. I know the particular weight that has been sitting on your chest when you wake up in the morning, the one that is there before you have even remembered what day it is, before the to-do lists and the responsibilities and the demands of the world have had a chance to pile back in. That weight that feels so familiar, so permanent, so much like just the way things are now, so much like the weather that you stopped noticing when it changed from temporary to constant. I know that weight, and I have come here today, into this room, into this precise moment of your breathing and your reading and your holding of these words, because I am not willing to let you carry that weight alone any longer without knowing that it has been seen, without knowing that the one who matters most to you, the one whose opinion of you and care for you and attention to you actually forms the foundation of how you see yourself. I am not willing to let another day pass without you knowing that I have been here through all of it, that not one day of your difficulty has been invisible to me, that not one prayer has dissolved into empty air, that not one tear has fallen without my full and present witness. I shared something with you, something real, something permanent, something that was meant to be a foundation under your feet, and I need you to find it again today, not through striving, not through performance, simply by receiving what I am already extending toward you in this moment. So breathe. Just breathe for a moment. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Let the clutch in your chest loosen its grip just enough to let the full air in. Because what comes next is not a lecture, and it is not a warning, and it is not a list of things you have done wrong and need to fix before I will speak to you with warmth. What comes next is the truth. The kind of truth that has your name written all over it. The kind of truth that was designed specifically for the exact shape of your heart, the particular dimensions of your hope and your fear and your tired and you're still going. I have always been here. From the very first moment of your existence, before you had taken a single breath of earthly air, before you had opened your eyes on this world for the first time, I was already there. I was already watching. I was already invested in you in a way that no human love has ever been able to fully replicate. Because human love, however beautiful and generous, has limitations. It runs low sometimes. It gets tired. It has conditions attached to it even when the people doing the loving are not aware of those conditions. Mine does not run low. Mine does not get tired. Mine does not have conditions attached that you have to discover by accident when you finally fall short of them. I knew your name before your parents chose it. I knew the sound of your voice before your lungs had the strength to make it. I had already mapped out the story of your life and placed within it things of such extraordinary value that the enemy has been working overtime ever since to make sure you never fully discover what they are. That is why you are tired. That is why the weight has felt so heavy. That is why you have been fighting battles that seem larger than they should be, for someone who is simply trying to live a good life and do the right thing and trust the one who made them. You are not being punished. You are not behind schedule. You are not failing at life in ways that your sense of shame has been cataloging. You are being pursued by a darkness that understands your worth better than you currently do, and that pursuit has been exhausting you in ways that go deeper than simple tiredness. But today, that changes. Today, I am showing up in the middle of your exhaustion, not to demand more from you, but to give something to you, something you have needed for a long time. I am going to share with you what I placed inside of you before the world had the chance to cover it over. I am going to remind you of what you already know at the deepest level of your soul, not at the surface level, not in the part that hears spiritual things and then forgets them by tomorrow. I am going to speak until the fog lifts and the lies that have been layered over the truth begin to fall away, and what is left standing when they fall is something so magnificent, so unshakable, so genuinely yours, that nothing the enemy has ever said about you will be able to touch it the same way again. My child, you came here for a reason today. And that reason is this: I love you with a love that does not waver. that does not tire, that does not keep a record of every stumble and every falling short and every moment when you did not get it right. I love you with the full force of everything I am. And I am the one who breathed existence into being. I am the one who set the boundaries of the oceans and called the mountains into place. I am the one who knows the number of stars by name and the number of hairs on your head, who counts the sparrows and governs the seasons and holds everything that exists in the open palm of my hand. And with that same knowing, that same intimate and exhaustive knowledge of all things, I look at you right now in this room and I say without hesitation and without condition, you are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not invisible. You are not too broken or too far gone or too confused or too ordinary or too complicated for the extraordinary things I have planned for your life. You are my child, and I am here. Do not let distraction steal this from you. Do not let the voice that always tries to minimize these moments convince you to scroll past what I am laying before you. There is a reason the enemy works so hard to keep you distracted, to keep your eyes moving, to keep your mind so full of noise that my voice cannot get through. He knows what happens when you stop and actually receive what I am saying to you. He knows what is released in the heavenly realm when a child of mine fully understands their worth, their purpose, their identity in me. He has always known what you carry. He has never been confused about it. It is only you who has been taught to doubt what he has always understood. And I am here to change that. I want you to think about the last few weeks of your life. I want you to think about the ways things have been hard, not because I want you to sink back into that pain, but because I want to show you something about it that you have not been able to see yet. The difficulty that has been surrounding you, the pressure that has been building from every direction, the sense that no matter how hard you try, you cannot quite get ahead of whatever seems to be chasing you, that is not random. That is the specific and strategic opposition of an enemy who knows that you are on the threshold of something he cannot afford to let you walk into. The attacks are proof of your value. Every arrow that has been aimed at your peace, every lie that has been whispered into your weariness, every door that seemed to close in your face when you were most hoping it would open, none of it was random. All of it was purposeful. All of it was targeted. Because you are not nobody. You have never been nobody. From the beginning, long before you were born into this world, and into this season, and into these particular battles, I placed within you something that the enemy recognized as a threat the moment you drew your first breath. And I shared that with you. Not in a moment of ceremony, not in a language of fire and thunder and unmistakable supernatural signs. I shared it quietly, in the same way I share all of my most precious things, hidden in the deep and sacred interior of your being, wrapped in the substance of who you truly are, waiting for the moment when the noise of the world would finally be still enough for you to hear it again. That moment is now. Stay with me. There is more I need you to hear, and I promise you, before we are finished, you will understand why heaven moved to bring you here today. You will understand the particular and irreplaceable weight of what I shared with you before you were born. You will understand why I am proud of you, not because of what you have achieved or accomplished or managed to hold together under pressure, but because of who you are when no one is watching. The real you. The you that has been surviving things that should have broken you. The you that has been fighting in the dark for a long time and has not stopped fighting. The you that is still here, still open, still reaching, still believing, even when believing feels expensive. I see that, and it moves something deep in me. My child, this message is not happening by coincidence. You were brought here by my hand because I have things to say to you that your soul has been starving for. Because the lies have been loud lately, and my voice has needed a channel clear enough to reach you. Because the weight has been heavy enough for long enough that it is time for something to shift. Not tomorrow, not next season. Now, today, in this room, in this conversation between my voice and your spirit. Let it happen right now. I know that you are tired. I do not say that as an indictment. I do not say that as a judgment or an observation meant to make you feel the weight more heavily or perform an appropriate amount of spiritual weariness for my benefit. I say it the way a father says it when he pulls his child close after a long and grueling day and simply holds them and acknowledges what has been real without trying to immediately fix it or explain it or make it mean something before it is ready to mean something. I say it because it is the truth of where you are right now, and the truth matters to me. You matter to me. The real condition of your interior life matters to me, not the polished version you have been performing. The actual condition underneath all of that, the state of the real you. You are tired. And I see you. I have been watching you carry things that were never designed to be carried alone. I have been watching you smile through the exhaustion because somewhere along the way you decided that if you admitted how tired you were, it would mean something bad about your faith or your strength or your worthiness of everything you are hoping for. I have been watching you hold yourself together with a grip that is costing you more than anyone around you knows, because the holding together happens in the private places, in the quiet spaces inside your own heart, in the long silences between one demand and the next, in the moments of transition between one role and another when you briefly have no one to be for and the real weight makes itself fully felt before you pick up the next thing. You have been fighting battles that no one else can see, the battles inside your own mind, the ones that start the moment you open your eyes in the morning before the day has properly begun. The battle against the thoughts that tell you that you are behind, that you have made too many wrong choices, that the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be by now is evidence of something fundamentally broken in you, something that other people seem to have figured out that you somehow have not. The battle against the voices that compare you to everyone around you and always seem to find you lacking in some specific and particularly painful way. The battle against the fear that the thing you have been hoping for, the thing you have been praying for in your most honest and most undefended moments is never actually going to come. That you are going to keep carrying this particular kind of hoping without arriving as a permanent condition of your life. That battle is exhausting. And you have been fighting it alone, in silence, in the private hours, pretending to everyone, including sometimes yourself, that it is not happening, keeping the performance going, choosing the smile over the truth because the smile asks less of the people around you, because you have learned that not everyone can hold what is really going on inside you, and you do not want to be a burden, do not want to take up too much space, do not want to require more than the people in your life are able to give. But I know about the nights when you could not sleep because your mind would not stop cycling through the same fears and regrets and questions, the same inventory of things that went wrong and might still be going wrong, the same calculations about money and relationships and time and whether you are doing enough and being enough, and whether the things you are working toward will ever actually arrive, or whether you will just keep getting close and close and close without ever quite arriving, the way some horizons seem to move away as fast as you walk toward them. I know about the mornings when the weight was already there before you had even fully woken up, pressing down on your chest like something physical, like a stone you could not lift and could not set down. I know about the moments in public when everyone around you seemed to have a sense of direction and a sense of peace and a sense of certainty about their lives, and you felt the particular loneliness of not knowing how to match what you were showing on the outside to what was actually happening on the inside. I was there in every one of those moments. I want you to understand that, not as a theological concept, not as a piece of doctrine you have heard and nodded to before without it actually changing anything in how you carry your days. I want you to understand it as a real and present and breathing reality. I was there, in the darkness of those nights, in the heaviness of those mornings, in the loneliness of those crowded moments. I was there, closer to you than your own skin, more intimate with the truth of your situation than any human being in your life has ever been or ever could be. And I was not observing from a distance with an inventory of your failures and a ledger of your shortcomings. I was with you. I am with you. I want to spend a few moments just looking at what you have been carrying, because I think you need to know that it has been seen. Not all of it has been named. Not all of it has been brought out into the light and held up so that you could look at it clearly and say, yes, that is the thing that has been costing me so much. Some of it has been so deeply embedded in your daily experience that you stopped recognizing it as a burden and started accepting it as simply the way things are. Some of it has become so familiar that you cannot imagine the shape of your life without it. But I want to name it today. I want to hold it up to the light with you, not to make it heavier, but because named burdens are lighter than unnamed ones. Because the things we carry in the dark always grow larger than the things we can finally look at in the light. You have been carrying the weight of expectations that were never yours to begin with. Not all of the things you have been holding yourself responsible for were placed on your shoulders by me. Some of them were placed there by people who needed something from you before you were strong enough to discern the difference between a holy calling and a human demand. Some of them were placed there by a world that taught you early that your value was directly proportional to your usefulness, your productivity, your ability to show up for others, regardless of the cost to yourself. Some of them were placed there by a version of faith that emphasized what you needed to do and give and sacrifice without giving you a clear enough picture of what I was giving and doing and sacrificing on your behalf. Some of them you placed there yourself, out of love for the people in your life, out of the deep and genuine desire to be enough for the ones who matter to you. And you carried all of it, because you are the kind of person who carries things. You are the one people call when they need someone steady. You are the one who shows up. You are the one who absorbs the anxiety of every room you walk into and quietly works to make things better for everyone around you, even when everything inside you is screaming for someone to do the same for you. You are the one who gives more than you have, who loves past the point of return, who extends grace to people who do not always deserve it and who rarely extend the same grace back to you. You are the one who has conversations in your own head with the people who hurt you, forgiving them long before they have asked for it, because you understand that holding on to unforgiveness costs you more than it costs them. That is not weakness. That is a particular kind of strength that the world does not always recognize or reward, and I want you to know that I see it. I see the cost of it. I see what it has done to the interior landscape of your heart over time, the way it has sometimes left you feeling hollow in the middle of a life that looks full from the outside. I see the way you have sometimes wondered if you matter to anyone the way that others matter to you, if anyone is paying the same quality of attention to what you need that you pay to what everyone else needs. I am paying attention. I have always been paying attention. Let me tell you something about the particular pain of feeling invisible. It is one of the most common things I witness among my most beloved children, not because I designed them to be invisible, but because the gifts I placed in them are often the quiet, underneath everything kind of gifts. The gifts of compassion and discernment and intercession and steady faithfulness and the ability to hold space for others in their pain. These gifts do not make headlines. They do not receive standing ovations. They happen in the margins and the background in the unremarkable middle of ordinary days, and most of the time no one notices them except for me. But I notice them. Every single one. Every time you bit your tongue when you wanted to fight back and chose peace instead of being right. Every time you chose kindness when unkindness would have been easier and would have felt, in the moment, like justice. Every time you extended forgiveness that cost you something real, that required you to reach past the hurt and the anger and the legitimate grievance to find something more generous on the other side. Every prayer you prayed in the dark that seemed to disappear into silence. Every time you got back up after being knocked down by a situation or a person or a disappointment or your own self-doubt, every single one of those moments was witnessed. Every single one of them mattered. Every single one of them has been adding to something that you cannot yet see, something that is building in the unseen realm right now while you are reading these words. You have been carrying a loneliness that does not go away even when you are surrounded by people. I know it. You know exactly the kind of loneliness I mean. Not the simple loneliness of being physically alone, though there have been plenty of those moments too, and I was present in every one of them. The deeper kind. The kind that sits in the middle of a full room and makes you feel like you are on the outside of a glass wall, watching everyone else connect and belong and be understood in ways that seem easy and natural and obvious, while something in you stands at a slight remove, not quite fitting, not quite seen in the particular way you most need to be seen, not because the people around you are bad people or do not care, but because the depth at which you need to be known is a depth that most human relationships have not been able to reach. You have spent years wondering if that distance is a flaw in you, wondering if other people are made of something that makes connection easier, something you somehow did not receive in the same measure, wondering if the intensity of your inner world, the way you feel things so deeply and think about things so thoroughly and care about things so specifically, is actually the very thing that makes you harder to reach and harder to keep and harder to hold in the ordinary ways that other people seem to be able to hold each other. I want to tell you the truth about that distance. It is not a flaw, it is not damage, it is not evidence of something broken in you or something missing from your formation. That distance is the natural result of a spirit that was made for something more than the world has so far been able to offer you. That restlessness at the edges of even your best moments, the sense that there should be more, that you were built for something you have not quite found yet, that is not discontent or ingratitude or a problem to be solved. That is the echo of eternity that I placed in you, the pull of a soul that knows it belongs to something larger than the temporary and the visible and the immediately available. You were not made to be fully satisfied by what the world offers. Not because I am cruel or because I made you flawed, but because I made you mine. And the particular shape of belonging that your soul has been searching for is not fully available in any human relationship or any earthly achievement or any circumstance or condition that time and change and the limitations of this world can provide. Part of what you have been longing for only I can give. Part of what has been missing has always been right here, available, waiting, patient in the way that only infinite love can be patient. For the moment when you would stop long enough to receive it, that moment is now. But let me first sit with you in the pain a little longer, because it deserves to be fully acknowledged before it is released. Because I am not interested in the kind of healing that papers over things too quickly, that rushes to the resolution without sitting long enough in the wound for the wound to know that it has been seen. Your wounds deserve better than that. You deserve better than that. I saw you when you were crying in the place you thought no one could see you. The place you go when the public face has to come down and there is no longer any energy left for performing the version of yourself that feels acceptable to the world. I saw you in that place. I was not looking away. I was not busy elsewhere. I was watching with the particular attention of one who understands exactly how much that crying cost you and exactly what it meant and exactly why it was there and exactly what it was asking for. I saw you when you were holding your chest, trying to physically contain the pain because it felt too large and too shapeless to manage any other way. That gesture, pressing your hand against yourself when the feeling gets too big, when the wave of grief or fear or longing or loss rises high enough to make breathing difficult. I have seen you do that. I know what it means. I know what it is reaching for. It is reaching for me, even when you do not know that is what it is reaching for. I was there. I saw you in the bathroom mirror, in the 3 seconds after the door closed and before you had to compose yourself again. I saw what your face did in those 3 seconds. The letting down that happens when you are finally alone. The way the held-together quality falls off like a coat that has been too heavy all day. I saw that face, the real one, the one that does not perform or manage or present a version of yourself for the comfort of others. That face is the one I love most completely, not because it is suffering, but because it is honest. Because honesty is one of the rarest and most beautiful things in all of creation. I saw you in the middle of the night when sleep would not come and your mind ran the same loops it always runs, the same calculations about money and relationships and time, the same unresolvable questions about the future. I heard the conversations you had with yourself in those hours, the bargaining, the asking, the wondering, the crying that is so quiet it barely makes a sound, the kind that happens entirely internally, the kind that leaves no evidence by morning. I heard all of it, and I want you to know something about all of those nights. You were never alone in them, not even for a second. I was present in every one of them. Not as a force rushing in to fix things immediately, not because I was indifferent to your pain or content to let you suffer, but because my love for you is too deep and too intelligent to give you easy comfort when what you need is deeper transformation. Because some things need to be walked through rather than around, but I was there, holding the space, holding you, present in the room in a way that does not always announce itself but is more real than anything physical you have ever touched. Those nights were not wasted. I want to tell you something that might sound surprising in light of how much they hurt. Those nights were sacred, every one of them, not because suffering is inherently holy, but because in those particular nights, in those particular stripped-down, unadorned moments of raw need and honest desperation, you were closer to me than in most of your polished and put-together moments. Because what you brought to those nights was the real you, not the managed version, the actual interior of your life. And there is nothing in all of creation that I love more than the actual interior of your life. Those nights were conversations, even when they felt like silence on my end. I know the silence has been one of the hardest things. I know you have asked me questions and heard nothing and have had to keep going in the absence of a clear answer, and I know how much that costs. It costs something specific and real to keep trusting someone who seems not to be answering, to keep praying at a door that seems not to open, to keep holding your heart towards something you cannot see and cannot prove, and cannot fully justify to yourself or to the people who watch you and wonder why you have not given up yet. I understand the pain of that silence, but I was never silent because I was absent. I was never silent because you did not matter, or because your questions were not worth answering, or because I had decided that your particular situation did not rise to the level of requiring my engagement. I was working in the silence. I was laying foundations in the silence. I was moving pieces that are invisible to your natural eyes in the silence, clearing paths and closing traps and preparing people and softening hearts and building the very infrastructure that the next chapter of your life is going to need. All of it happening in the quiet, in the unseeable, in the space behind the curtain of your perception where I do most of my best work. And now some of that work is getting ready to become visible. But before it does, I want to make sure you know the depth of my seeing, because the thing I shared with you cannot be properly received until you are certain that the one sharing it sees you fully, knows you completely, has not missed anything. I have not missed anything. I see the complicated things too, the things you are most ashamed of, the choices that still follow you, the patterns you have not been able to break, no matter how many times you have resolved to break them, the ways you have failed the people you love the most, the moments when your worst self showed up and you still carry the residue of that. I see those things, and I do not look at them the way you look at them. I do not hold them up as evidence against you or as a case for why the good things I have promised you are currently suspended pending your sufficient improvement. I see them as the places where my grace is most luminous. I see them as the specific coordinates of your greatest need and my greatest willingness to give. Because I did not come into your life to celebrate the parts that are already shining and polished and presentable. I came into your life because every part of it, including the broken and the failed and the not yet healed, is precious to me. You are not loved in spite of the complicated parts. You are loved whole. All of it. The brilliant and the broken and the trying and the falling and the getting back up and the falling again. All of it is held by me. All of it belongs to me. And all of it is working towards something that you do not yet have the vantage point to see. Trust me with that. That is what I am asking of you today. Not to have it all figured out. Not to have resolved every question. Not to have arrived at the destination you have been working toward. Just to trust me with the parts of the story that are still unwritten. To extend to me the same kind of faithful, imperfect, sometimes exhausted belief that you have been extending all along. The kind that shows up even when it does not feel like much. The kind that keeps one eye open toward heaven, even in the middle of the darkest nights. You have been doing that. I have seen you doing that. And I am more proud of you for it than I have words in any human language to fully express. Let me tell you where I was, my child, because I think you need to hear this spoken directly. I think some part of you has wondered whether the distance you felt in certain seasons was real, whether the silence was evidence of absence, whether the pain you experienced in the moments when my presence felt farthest away was proof that I had looked away or moved on, or decided that other concerns were more worthy of my attention than you were. I was there. I want to say that as many times as it needs to be said before it lands all the way in. I was there, in every room where something hard happened, in every moment when the ground shifted under your feet, in every conversation that changed things, in every night that did not end the way it should have, in every morning that began with the weight already in place before you had done anything to deserve it. I was there in all of it. Not as a passive observer, but as an active participant in the protection of your life, in the shaping of your character, in the preparation of everything that is coming next. I was in the room when the thing happened that you did not expect, the thing that changed the shape of your life in ways you were not prepared for. I was in the room, and I was not passive, and I was not indifferent, and I was not surprised even though it surprised you completely. I knew it was coming. I saw it from a long way off. And every moment leading up to it, I was preparing things inside you that you would need on the other side of it. Things you could not have developed any other way. Strengths that only get formed under pressure. Capacities that only come online when you have been stretched past what you thought your limit was. Depths of empathy and understanding that only belong to people who have actually been to the bottom and know what it looks like from there, who can meet other people in their worst moments with a quality of presence that comes only from having survived your own. I was there. I was there in the relationship that did not work out the way you had hoped, the one you prayed for, the one you believed in, the one you put your heart into with everything you had, and then watched unravel in ways that left you questioning not just the relationship but yourself, your judgment, your worthiness, your ability to know what is real and what is wishful thinking. I was in every conversation of that unraveling. I was in every goodbye. I was in every night after. And I did not let it happen because I was indifferent to your pain. I let it happen because I saw something coming that you could not see from where you were standing. I saw the room you would have walked into. I saw the ways that door, as beautiful as it looked from the outside, would have taken you somewhere that would have cost you things far more precious than the pain of the closing, Things like the clarity you are developing right now. Things like the particular quality of wisdom that only comes from having loved someone who could not fully receive what you were offering. Things like the strength of knowing that you survived what you were certain would break you. I do not close doors carelessly. I do not remove things from your life without purpose. Every departure, every ending, everything that has been taken or withheld or delayed, every single one of them has been an act of protection so specific and so loving that if you could see it from where I stand, if you could see the full picture in the way that I see it, you would be undone by gratitude. Not someday, right now. I was there in the financial season that felt like it would never end. The season when the numbers were wrong and the provision felt thin and the prayers about it seemed to go nowhere. I was in that season. I was not punishing you. I was doing something in that season that cannot be done in comfort, something that only happens in the stripping away of the things we hold on to for security instead of the one who is actually our security. The quality of trust that develops in that finding, the trust that is not theory but experience, not doctrine but the actual testimony of a person who came to the end of their own resources and found me there. That trust is worth everything the season cost you. And the season that cost you so much was building the kind of faith in you that is going to sustain you through things that are coming, things that will require a trust that was not yet formed in the easier years. I was preparing you. I was there in the disappointment that hit you like a physical thing, the one that involved a dream you had carried for a long time, a vision of what your life was going to look like, an expectation of a door that was going to open and a chapter that was going to begin. When that door did not open the way you believed it would, I felt the impact of that disappointment. I did not observe it from a distance. Your pain is not abstract to me. Your grief matters to me. And I was there, present in that grief with you, not to fix it immediately, but to be near, to make sure that you did not go through even the darkest of that darkness entirely alone. You were never alone, not once, not for a single second, of a single hour, of a single day of this entire life. I want you to think about something right now. I want you to think about a moment in your past when something turned out differently than it seemed like it should have. A door that closed right before you would have walked through it. A relationship that ended right before it would have taken you somewhere damaging. A plan that fell apart right before you would have committed yourself completely to something that was not right for you. What you called bad luck, I call protection. What you called confusion, I call navigation. In every single one of those moments, my hand was on the wheel. I was not an absent pilot. I have been present in every shift and every turn and every apparent detour, and the detours were not detours. The longest way around was sometimes the only way through. The season that felt like waiting was often the season when the most essential work was being done, the work that happens underground, out of sight, in the roots. The work that is the difference between a tree that looks good for a season and a tree that lasts through storms. I was building roots in you. In the hardest seasons, I was building roots. Let me now begin to show you what I shared with you, what I placed in you before you were born, what the enemy has been working to cover over because he knows that the day you fully receive it is the day the game changes irreversibly. Let me speak over you now in the language of what has been true about you from the beginning. Before you were born, I called you by name. Before your lungs had taken their first breath, I knew the sound of your voice. I knew the particular wavelength of the way you love. I knew the specific quality of your courage, the kind that shows up not with fanfare but quietly, in the daily decision to keep going when keeping going is the hardest thing in the room. I knew the depth of your compassion, the way you feel the pain of other people in your own body, the way their struggle becomes your prayer, the way you carry the needs of others in the middle of your own insufficient strength. I designed that depth. I placed that compassion in you with intention. I gave you that sensitivity not as a curse to manage, but as a gift to deploy, a capacity that the people around you are going to need from you in ways that are only beginning to reveal themselves. What you have called your greatest vulnerability is actually one of your greatest weapons. What you have called a disadvantage in a world that rewards the thick-skinned and the fast-moving and the strategically numb is actually the thing that makes you capable of the kind of presence and the kind of love and the kind of connection that can change the direction of other lives in ways that power and position and charisma cannot reach. You are not too much. You were made exactly this much on purpose. And I am proud of you for the way you have carried it, even when you did not know it was worth carrying. Even when the world gave you plenty of reasons to put it down and become something harder and more defended and more closed, you kept it. In spite of everything, you kept the softness, the openness, the willingness to be affected by things that are worth being affected by. That is not weakness. That is the most profound kind of spiritual courage I have ever witnessed in a human being. I shared this with you. The knowledge of your worth, the substance of your design, the particular calling that was written over your life before your life had a name. I placed it in the deepest chamber of your being and I called it yours. And then the world came and tried to convince you it was not there, tried to cover it with enough rejection and disappointment and exhaustion and lies that you would forget it was there. But it has always been there. It is there right now. And what you are feeling as you read these words, that warmth, that something shifting in your chest, that half-remembered sense of recognition, like hearing a song you have not heard in years but your body still knows every word, that is it. That is the thing I shared with you, recognizing the sound of my voice calling it back to the surface. Let it rise. You were not an accident of nature. You were not the product of random biological processes that somehow stumbled into consciousness and dignity and the capacity for love. You were formed by intention, by thought, by the specific and deliberate creativity of a God who does not do anything thoughtlessly or casually or without purpose. I did not simply breathe life into you and then let you fend for yourself in a world that has largely lost its way. I breathed life into you, and then I breathed into you a particular calling, a particular design, a particular combination of gifts and perspectives and capacities that the world has never had before and will never have again, because you are not a duplicate. You are an original, and originals are precious. Originals are worth fighting for. Originals are worth standing in the room with, worth speaking into the dark over, worth coming all the way down from the heights of heaven to meet on the level of their ordinary Tuesday afternoon, because the ordinary Tuesday afternoons of my most beloved children are the most extraordinary things in all of creation to me. Not because they are grand or impressive, but because they are real, and they are yours, and they are the actual fabric of the life I gave you to live. I am here in your ordinary, and you're struggling, and you're getting by. I am here in the place that feels most unimpressive, most unmiraculous, most just getting through. I am here because that is exactly where you need me most, and that is exactly where love that is real shows up, not just at the mountain peaks and the celebration moments, but in the valley floor, in the daily grind, in the bone-deep weariness of a life that has demanded more than it has given back for longer than is fair. And I am not going anywhere. This is what I shared with you, this presence, this particular and personal and utterly consistent presence that has never, not for one single moment, withdrawn from your life. Not when you made choices that cost you, not when your faith ran thin, not when you got angry at me and said things in the privacy of your own heart that you would never say out loud, not when you doubted me and yourself and everything you thought you believed. Not once. I have always been here, and I am always going to be here. But today I am not just here as a presence. Today I am here as a voice. Today I have specific things to say to you, specific truths to speak over your specific life, specific revelations to offer about the specific thing I placed in you and the specific reason the enemy has been working so hard to convince you it is not real. I need you to keep reading, my beloved. I need you to stay in this place with me because what comes next is the part that begins to change everything. You have been so tired for so long, and I am about to show you why all of that had a purpose. Before your birth, in the secret council of heaven, before the circumstances of your life had written a single line of their story on your heart, I declared something over you. I said, this one will carry something rare. This one will be equipped for a moment that is coming, equipped in ways that will only make sense when the moment arrives. This one will be a carrier of my presence, into places that my presence is most needed, into conversations and relationships and moments of crisis and beauty and ordinary faithful living, that will be transformed by the quality of what this particular child carries. I said that about you. I said it before you were born. And everything that has happened since, the beautiful and the painful and the confusing and the formative and the sometimes almost unbearable, has been the process of equipping you for the declaration I made. Not despite the hard things, through the hard things. Not in spite of what has been most difficult. Because of it, the fire did not destroy what I placed in you. The fire refined it. The pressure did not crush what I shared with you. The pressure formed it into something that can withstand far more than you currently know. You are more prepared than you think. You are more ready than you feel. And the thing I shared with you before the world could touch it, it is alive, and it is real, and it is waiting, right now, to be fully received. Let it be received. Let the truth of what I am saying reach all the way down to the place where you have been waiting for permission to believe it. The place that has been holding back from fully receiving the good things I have been extending toward you because you were not sure the good things were real or that they applied to someone in your particular condition with your particular complications and your particular incomplete track record. They are real. They apply to you, specifically and completely and without reservation. I shared this with you before you were born, and I am sharing it with you again right now. Part 4 of 6, Build Up and Reframe. My child, I want to tell you something about the season you have been in. I want to tell you what has actually been happening while you were waiting and wondering, and sometimes wondering if I had forgotten the address of where you live, while you were watching other people move forward and trying to make sense of why their timing seemed different from yours, while you were doing the right things and not seeing the right results and holding on to faith with both hands some days and with one hand other days and some days with what felt like the tips of your fingers over a long drop. I want you to know what I was doing during that time. I was building. I was not absent. I was building. I was not silent because I had nothing to say. I was silent the way a surgeon is silent, completely focused, entirely concentrated on the work, not distracted by needing to explain every step while the most careful and precise and consequential part of the procedure is happening. You were not forgotten. You were in the middle of the most important work. And I need you to understand what I was building, because the building I was doing cannot be understood if you only look at the surface of your circumstances. The building I was doing was happening underneath. The most important construction is always foundational. You do not see it. You do not feel it in ways that feel like progress. But when the structure above the ground finally rises, everything depends on what was laid beneath. I was laying foundations in you that you did not know you needed. I was building character structures that can hold the weight of what is coming without collapsing under it. I was building depth of compassion that makes you capable of truly helping people rather than only managing them from a safe distance. I was building a kind of understanding that can only come from having been through the thing, not just from having read about the thing or observed the thing from the outside. I was building in you what could not be built any other way. Let me show you something. Let me show you how I have always worked, because the way I am working in your life right now is not new. It is the most ancient pattern of how I operate with the ones I am preparing for something significant. Think about Joseph. Think about a young man who received a dream, a real dream, a God-given, God-breathed dream about a future that was coming, about a destiny that was already written, about a role that was already prepared for him in the purposes of a story far larger than he could see from where he was standing. He received that dream as a teenager, and then here is what happened next. He was betrayed by the people who should have protected him. He was sold by his own brothers, his own family, the people whose love should have been his safety. They looked at him and saw a threat, and they sold him like he had no value, like the dream he carried meant nothing, like the God who gave the dream had made a mistake in choosing the vessel. He was taken to a foreign country as property. He was falsely accused by someone he had served faithfully and at great personal cost. He was thrown into prison for something he did not do. He was forgotten by someone who had promised to remember him, someone who had every reason to help and who simply moved on and left Joseph in the cell while the years passed. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. Because Joseph did not know. He did not have the scroll of his story in his hands while he was sitting in that prison. He did not get to see the chapter titles while he was living through the chapter. He did not know that the betrayal was not the end, that the false accusation was not his verdict, that the forgotten promise was not the final word on whether he would be remembered. He only knew what you know. He knew that he had been given a dream and that everything that had happened since seemed to contradict the dream. He knew that he had tried to do the right things and that doing the right things had not protected him from wrong things happening to him. He knew that the wait was longer than he had expected, that the pit was darker than he had imagined, that the years in prison were not something that fit neatly into his understanding of how a destiny was supposed to develop. He knew what the waiting feels like from the inside. And I want you to know that I saw him in that prison the way I see you right now. I was not absent from Joseph in the prison. I was with him in the prison. I was not abandoning Joseph to his circumstances. I was preparing Joseph through his circumstances for something so large that if it had come before the prison, before the betrayal, before the years of formation and refinement and depth building, he would not have had the capacity to carry it without being destroyed by it. The dream I gave Joseph was real. The dream I placed in you is real. The delay is not the death of the dream. The delay is the development of the person who will carry the dream without being crushed by the weight of it. I was building in Joseph what the throne room required. I am building in you what the next season requires. And the question is not whether I am building. The question is whether you are willing to trust the process of the building even when you cannot see the blueprint. Think about David. Think about a shepherd boy on a hillside, the youngest son, the one left behind when the important guests arrived, the one not even called in when the great prophet Samuel came to the house of Jesse to anoint the next king of Israel. His own father did not think to call him. His own father looked at his 7 other sons and thought, the next king of Israel is standing in this room, not the boy on the hill, not David. And Samuel looked at all 7 of them, and I said to Samuel, none of these. And Samuel must have wondered because by every external measure these were impressive men, tall and strong and present, and yet none of them was the one. And then they called for David, a shepherd boy smelling of sheep and hillside, with dirt on his hands and music in his heart and more experience talking to God in the quiet of open fields than standing in rooms where important decisions were made. And I said to Samuel, this is the one. But here is what I need you to notice. After the anointing, David went back to the sheep. He did not go immediately to the palace. He did not immediately assume the throne. He went back to the hill and the flock and the ordinary faithful work of caring for what was in his charge right now while the larger assignment was being prepared for him and he was being prepared for it. And on that hill, in the ordinary work of what looked like insignificance, David was developing things that Goliath would later force into visibility. He was killing lions. He was killing bears. He was learning that the one who is with him is greater than whatever stands against him. Not in theory, not as a theology, but as a tested and confirmed and bone-deep personal knowledge that cannot be transferred from one person to another, but must be earned through the facing of actual threats, in actual darkness, with actual fear, in actual aloneness, and the discovery that I was there. He was becoming who he needed to be, in the place that looked like nothing, in the season that looked like delay, in the circumstance that looked like being overlooked and left behind and assigned to the margins. He was in the formation, and then Goliath showed up, and everything David had built in the secret season was required for the public moment. And if David had not been in the field, if David had been fast-tracked to the palace before the formation was complete, he would have faced Goliath as a boy with a title, but without the tested certainty. And the title without the tested certainty would not have been enough. The secret season made the public moment possible. Your secret season is making your public moment possible. The things you have been building in the hard places, the faithfulness when no one was watching, the character being refined by the friction, the depth being developed by the pressure, the rootedness being established by the adversity that would have uprooted someone with shallower roots. These things are not wasted. They are the preparation for something that will require exactly what they produce. You are not behind. You are in formation. Let me tell you about Ruth. Ruth was a widow in a foreign land with nothing but loyalty and willingness. She had lost her husband. She had lost the life she thought she was going to live. She had lost the familiar ground of her own people and her own customs and her own language, and everything that made her feel known and oriented in the world. And she was gleaning in a field, the margins of the harvest of another, not the center of the field, not the owner of the harvest. She was picking up what was left behind after the main gathering, the edges, the overlooked, the portions assigned to those without resources of their own. That was where she was. And I want you to notice something about where Ruth was. She was faithful in the small things she had access to. She was not sitting down in protest at the injustice of her circumstances. She was not paralyzed by grief or bitterness, or the gap between what her life was supposed to look like and what it currently looked like. She was in the field. She was doing the available work with excellence and consistency, and the kind of quiet faithfulness that most people do not have an audience for and do not do for an audience. She was faithful in the field, and the field where she was faithful happened to belong to Boaz. And the story that began in a field with a widow gleaning what was left behind ended with redemption and restoration and a lineage that you know by name, a lineage that carried something all the way to the birth of a child in Bethlehem who would change the entire trajectory of everything. Ruth did not know that when she was in the field. She just showed up and did the available work faithfully. And I saw her. I saw the faithfulness. I saw the character. I saw the quality of who she was in the place that gave her no reason to be that quality of person except that it was who she had become and who she chose to be, regardless of the audience and regardless of the return. I see you. I see you being faithful in your field. I see you showing up in your ordinary place and doing the available work with a quality of character that your current circumstances give you no external reason to maintain, except that it is who you are becoming and who you are choosing to be. And I want to tell you that your field is not random. Your field is appointed. The place you are in right now is not a mistake. The field you are in is the place of meeting, the place where the faithfulness you carry will intersect with the preparation I have been doing. And the story that will come out of that intersection is larger than the field looks from where you are standing in it. Do not despise the field. Do not look at where you are and decide that where you are is evidence that I have not been paying attention. Where you are is exactly where I need you to be right now for the next thing I am preparing to do in your life. Be faithful in the field. Let me tell you about Esther. Esther was a young woman who had lost her parents and was raised by a cousin in a foreign land among a people who were not her own. And through a series of events that looked from the outside like circumstance and coincidence and the random turning of events in a royal court, she found herself in a position of influence that no one who knew her earlier circumstances could have predicted. And then the moment came. The moment when everything she had been through, every loss, every formation, every unexpected door, and every preparation she had not known was preparation, converged into a single threshold. And her cousin Mordecai said to her words that I want you to hear right now as words that I am speaking to you. He said this, "Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Who knows? Not who knows, meaning this is uncertain and maybe unlikely. Who knows, meaning is it possible, is it conceivable, do you have any sense of what I am telling you, that everything you have been through has been convergent, that the losses and the formation and the unexpected placement and the season of preparation all pointed here, to this moment, to this threshold, to this particular convergence of your story, with a larger story that needed someone like you in exactly this place, at exactly this time. Who knows whether you have not come to where you are for such a time as this? I am saying that to you. Who knows, my child? Who knows whether every hard thing and every formation season, and every moment of what felt like delay, and every place where you were refined rather than rescued, who knows whether all of it has been bringing you to a threshold that is closer than you think, a moment that is coming, a convergence that is being assembled, such a time as this, that has your name on it. I placed you here intentionally. Your story is not random. Your hardest seasons were not punishments. They were preparation for a moment that your circumstances alone were never designed to produce, that only comes from the combination of your history and my faithfulness, and the exact formation that happened in the exact seasons you wished you could have skipped. You were not forgotten in the formation. You were being prepared for the moment. And I need to tell you something about what attacks mean when you are close to a breakthrough, because some of you have been feeling a particular kind of pressure lately, and you have been interpreting that pressure as evidence that something is wrong, when it is actually evidence that something is very right. When you are close to a significant threshold, there is an intensification of opposition. This is not random. This is the nature of the invisible architecture of how breakthroughs work. When you are far from a doorway, nothing is particularly interested in stopping you. When you are near a doorway, everything that does not want you to walk through that door becomes more active. The opposition gets louder. The fear becomes more specific. The doubts become more targeted. The challenges come from more directions. And the temptation when this happens is to conclude that the intensification is evidence that you are going the wrong direction, that the pressure means retreat, that the opposition confirms that this is not the path, that the increasing resistance is a signal to stop. I want to tell you that the opposite is true. The opposition knows things about what is on the other side of the threshold that you do not yet know. The resistance is not random. The resistance is targeted, and targeted resistance confirms proximity. It does not confirm error. When you are close, you will feel it. You have been feeling it. The particular exhaustion of this recent season is not evidence that you are losing. It is evidence that you are approaching something that matters enormously, and that the approach is real and the threshold is actual. You are close. Hold on. Let me tell you about the process I use when I am preparing to turn a season. There is a moment, and I want you to look for this moment in your own life. There is a moment just before the shift when things feel the heaviest, the stillest, the most resistant to change. It is the last hour of the night, the hour before the first light arrives and the whole world looks like it will never be anything other than dark. It is the moment when the pressure has been sustained so long that everything in you that is tired wants to interpret the continued pressure as confirmation that nothing is ever going to change. That is the moment, that specific quality of stillness and heaviness, and this is just how it is. That moment is not evidence of a permanent condition. That moment is the moment just before the shift. The darkness is thickest right before the light arrives, not because the darkness is winning, but because the light is coming, and the contrast between the last of the dark and the first of the light is most severe at the exact moment of transition. You have been in the last of the dark. The light is coming. I am not giving you a comfortable abstraction. I am telling you something that is accurate about what I am actually doing in this moment. There is a movement that has been happening beneath the surface of your circumstances, a shift that has been building while you were trying to hold on, a realignment that has been assembling while you were waiting for signs that something was assembling. It has been assembling. The things I have been building in you are approaching readiness. The things I have been arranging in your circumstances are approaching convergence. The season of formation is approaching completion. Not because all difficulty ends, not because life becomes simple or undemanding, but because the primary work of this particular season of preparation is approaching what it was designed to produce. You are about to enter something new. I need you to stay in what I am saying to you right now and let it reach the place where you have been afraid to hope. Because I know what hope costs you right now. I know that hoping and then having the hope not arrive on the schedule you expected, and then hoping again, and then waiting again, and then the gap between what you hoped and what arrived has created a particular kind of guarded, careful, protected approach to hope that feels safer than opening fully to the possibility of good things coming. I know the protection mechanism. I built it into you. I understand why it is there. A heart that has been disappointed enough times builds walls not out of faithlessness but out of a very reasonable response to the experience of hoping and waiting, and not wanting the falling to be any further, if the thing does not arrive. I understand the guarded hope, but I am asking you, right now, in this moment that I specifically arranged for you to be in, to let the guard down just enough to receive what I am about to say. I am proud of you, not as a general statement, not as a thing I say to everyone, as a specific, considered, personal declaration about you, the person who is hearing this, the person I brought here for exactly this message, at exactly this time. I am proud of the way you have handled what you have been given. I am proud of the faithfulness you have maintained when faithfulness was costly. I am proud of the love you have continued to extend when love was returning diminishing results. I am proud of the integrity you have kept when compromising it would have been easier and would have been understandable to everyone watching. I am proud of the way you have gotten back up every time. I am proud of the fact that you are still here, still listening, still reaching toward me when the reaching has sometimes felt like it was going into silence. That is not small. That is not the default response. What you have been doing is genuinely difficult and genuinely rare, and I see every part of it, and I am proud of every part of it. I am here. I am in your room, not in a metaphor, not in a comforting theological abstraction. Present, with you, right now, in the actual space where you are sitting or lying down or standing, in the actual moment you are in the actual condition of your heart and your body and your circumstances right now. I am here. And I am telling you that this conversation is not a coincidence. The way this found you is not an accident. The fact that you are still listening, that you have not closed this, that something in you stayed and kept receiving even in the parts that were hard to receive, that something is me. I am the reason you stayed. I am the reason you are here. And what I want you to receive before we go any further, before we move into what comes next, is simply this. I am here. I have been here. I will be here. And the one who has been with you through everything you have been through is the same one who is walking with you into everything that is coming next. You are not entering the next season alone. Part 5 of 6, Climax and Identity Declaration. My beloved, let me say something to you that I have been building toward. Something that I need you to receive not just in your mind, but in the deep interior place where the truest things land and stay. I am so proud of you. I want to explain what I mean by that. Because proud can be a word that floats past without landing, a word that feels good for a moment and then dissolves because you are not sure it is really about you, or it is just a general warmth that applies to everyone equally and therefore does not quite apply to you specifically. Let me be specific. I am proud of you for the loving, not the easy love, not the love that is returned in kind and sustained by mutuality and rewarded by warmth coming back to you in proportion to what you sent out. I am proud of you for the love you kept extending when it was not coming back to you, when the people you loved were in seasons where they had nothing to give and you gave anyway, when the relationships you invested in did not produce the return you needed, when you kept showing up and giving and extending and serving and sometimes not being seen for any of it. That kind of love is not natural. That kind of love is not what humans produce by default. That kind of love is the love I have for you working through you, and you let it work through you even when it cost you things that real love always costs. And I watched every instance of it and I counted every one of them, and none of it was invisible to me, even when it was invisible to everyone around you. I am proud of that. I am proud of you for the believing, for keeping faith through the seasons when faith had nothing to lean on except itself, for trusting me in the spaces where there was no external evidence that I was present and no internal feeling of my nearness, and the only thing that continued to connect you to me was a thread that you held onto, not because it felt secure, but because something in you could not let go. I want to tell you something about that thread. The holding was not one-sided. When it felt like you were barely holding on, you were right that you were barely holding on. But the thread was not just the grip of your hand. I was holding the other end. And the strength that was in the thread in those moments was not your strength. Your strength was indeed depleted. What was keeping the connection was me. You held on, and I held back. And together, the thread held. I am proud of you for staying connected to me through seasons that made connection feel like an act of will rather than an experience of warmth. That is not a lesser faith. That is a deeper faith. That is a faith that has been tested and has survived the testing, and what comes out of that testing is something that cannot be produced any other way. I am proud of the getting back up. Every time. I want you to think about every time you have fallen. Every time the circumstance knocked you down, the betrayal took your legs out from under you, the loss left you unable to stand for a moment, the disappointment was heavier than you could hold upright, and every time you got back up, not always quickly, sometimes slowly, sometimes after staying down longer than you wanted to, sometimes with help and sometimes alone, but every time you got back up. Do you know what that tells me? It tells me that something lives in you that the falling cannot permanently reach, something that is rooted deeper than the level where the blows land, something that continues to orient toward life and toward me and toward forward, even when the pain would give you every rational justification to stay down. That is not weakness. That is one of the rarest forms of strength I see in the people I love. I am proud of you for staying soft, for not letting the hardness of your experiences convert you into a person who hardens in response, for not letting the disappointments turn you bitter, for not letting the betrayals turn you closed, for not letting the accumulation of wounds produce a protective callousness that keeps pain out, but also keeps love out, and keeps me out, and keeps the full experience of being alive out. You have kept your heart open. You have stayed tender. You have stayed capable of being moved by beauty and by the pain of others and by the presence of grace in unexpected places. You have stayed able to be surprised by goodness even when your experience would give you reason to stop expecting goodness. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people after what you have been through would have hardened, would have decided that the open heart is a liability, would have closed down the parts of themselves that make them most fully human because those are also the parts that can be most hurt? You did not do that. You kept the heart open. And I am telling you now that the open heart is not the thing that made you vulnerable to harm. The open heart is the thing that has made you capable of receiving what I am bringing to you. A closed heart cannot receive. A hardened heart cannot be filled. The very softness that sometimes felt like your weakness is the opening through which everything I have for you is able to enter. You stayed open, and I am going to fill what stayed open. I am proud of you. Now let me tell you who you are, not who you have been told you are, not the story that difficult experiences wrote about you, not the version of yourself that shame and failure and the careless words of others assembled over years of ordinary human interaction that is often, even among people who love each other, unconsciously unkind. Let me tell you who you actually are. You are not an accident. You are not the result of random forces converging and producing a person without intention behind them. You were thought about. You were planned. Every detail of how you were made, the particular wiring of your mind and the particular quality of your heart, and the particular set of sensitivities and capacities and tendencies that make you distinctly you, was assembled by me with care and with specific intention. I thought about you. Before the universe was spoken into existence, before the first light separated from the first darkness, before the first water and the first land and the first living thing, I thought about you. You were in my knowledge and my intention before you were in any womb or any world. You are not an afterthought. You are a forethought. You are a cycle breaker. Let me explain what that means, because cycle breaker is not just a description. It is a calling and a commission and a confirmation of why certain things in your life have been harder than they seem to be for the people around you. There are patterns in family lines. There are ways of relating and responding and surviving and passing damage forward that travel through generations the way rivers travel through landscape, carving channels and following the channels that have already been carved, deepening the paths that already exist. And sometimes I place a person in a line who carries something different. A person who does not simply inherit the channel and flow through it. A person who introduces something new into the water. A person whose presence in a family system is the beginning of a different story, the first chapter of a new inheritance. The one who absorbs patterns that should not continue and refuses to pass them forward. That requires absorbing things that should not have been yours to absorb. It requires taking on weight that, strictly speaking, was not generated by you. It requires doing emotional and spiritual and relational work that other generations either could not or did not do, and doing it without a roadmap, often without recognition, sometimes with the people in the line actively resisting the change, because change is always uncomfortable to those who are used to the existing channel. If that resonates with you, I want you to hear me now. What you have been doing is not accidental. The extra weight you have been carrying is not random. The particular quality of hardship in your story is not evidence that you have done something wrong. It is evidence that I place something in you that is doing something important, something generational, something that will look different in the stories of people who come after you because of what you are choosing and absorbing and refusing to pass forward right now. You are breaking cycles, not because it is easy, not because you always know what you are doing, but because something in you will not let certain things continue, will not let certain patterns win, will not let the wrong story be the final story. That is not something you produced, that is something I placed in you. You are a cycle breaker, and the work you are doing, even the invisible and costly and unrecognized work, has a reach that extends far beyond your own life. You are a light bearer. I need you to understand what this means, and I need you to understand it not as a flattering thing that makes you feel important, but as a description of something functional that has very real implications for how you experience the world, and why certain things about your life are the way they are. Light has a property that is relevant here. Light does not stay in one place. Light travels. Light enters a space and changes the experience of that space. Light reveals what was hidden and illuminates what was obscure and makes navigation possible in places where navigation was not possible before the light arrived. And when I place something of my light in a person and send that person into the world, the light that person carries does not stay inside them. It goes with them wherever they go. It enters the spaces they enter. It reaches the people they reach. It changes the temperature of rooms. It shifts the quality of conversations. It makes it possible for people in those rooms and those conversations to see things they could not see before the light bearer arrived. You have been doing this. You have been doing it without always knowing you were doing it. You have been doing it in ordinary moments that did not feel significant, in conversations that felt routine, in the simple faithful showing up in your ordinary life. And the light you have been carrying has been reaching people and places and moments that were changed because you were in them. I want you to hold that, not as pride but as orientation. You are not small. You are not insignificant. You are not failing at producing impact because the impact is invisible to you. The invisibility of the impact is not the same as the absence of the impact. Some of the most significant work I have ever done through human beings was work they never got to see the results of, work whose ripples extended into generations and distances and moments they never had access to, work that changed everything in places they never knew they touched. You are a light bearer, and the light you carry is reaching further than you see. You are an heir. You are not a servant hoping to be tolerated. You are not a spiritual laborer waiting for a chance to prove enough value to be allowed to stay. You are not on probation. You are not working your way toward a conditional acceptance that you might eventually earn if your performance sustains a sufficient level over a sufficient time. You are a child, and children of mine are heirs. Heirs do not earn the inheritance. Heirs receive the inheritance because of relationship and identity, because of whose child they are, not because of what they produced or achieved or successfully maintained. The inheritance is theirs because they belong to the one who possesses it. You belong to me, and everything that is mine is available to you not because you earned it but because you are mine. The peace that passes understanding is yours. The joy that does not depend on circumstances is yours. The strength that is renewed when your own strength is depleted is yours. The provision that arrives from directions you cannot anticipate is yours. The doors that open without requiring you to break them down are yours. The favor that precedes you into rooms you have not yet entered is yours. These things are not aspirational. They are your inheritance. And I want you to begin to walk with the posture of someone who knows whose child they are. Not arrogance, not the false confidence of someone who has convinced themselves of something that is not true. The settled quietness of someone who knows who their father is and what that means about who they are and what they have access to. You are an heir to an unshakable kingdom. And I want to tell you something about the season you are entering. The season of hiddenness is giving way to a season of visibility. Not all at once, not in a way that bypasses your character or removes the continued need for faithfulness and dependence in the daily relationship with me. But the work I have been doing underground, the root systems I have been developing, the foundations I have been laying, these are approaching the season where the growth above the surface begins to become visible. There are things that have been held for you that are about to be released. There are doors that have been closed, not as a permanent condition, but as a timing decision that is approaching its appointed end. There are opportunities that have been in preparation that are approaching readiness. There are relationships that are coming that carry the quality of connection and support and mutual strengthening that you have been needing and that I have been assembling for this season of your life. I am sending provision. I am sending open doors. I am sending the right people. I am sending clarity where there has been confusion and rest where there has been exhaustion and the specific kind of help that your specific situation requires. Not because you finally did enough to earn it, because this is the season I appointed, because the formation is approaching what it was designed to produce, because you are my child and I take care of my children and the timing of my provision is always exactly right even when it does not match the timing you requested, and the provision itself is always exactly what is needed even when it does not look exactly like what you asked for. You are entering something new, and you are not entering it as the person you were when this season began. You are entering it as the person the season made you, stronger and deeper and more rooted and more capable of receiving and stewarding and sustaining what I am bringing to you. You are ready. Let me say one more thing before we move into what I want to ask of you. I see the version of you that is ashamed of where you are. The version that compares the current state of your life against some imagined or observed version of how things should look by now and finds the gap troubling. The version that has internalized certain timelines, certain markers, certain indicators of progress and success and rightness that your actual life does not currently match, and carries a low-level background anxiety about that gap that is present in the quiet moments and in the moments of comparison and in the particular sting of watching another person's story appear to go differently than yours. I see that version of you, and I want to speak directly to that version now. The gap between where you are and where you think you should be is not evidence of my disappointment in you. The gap is not the measure of your value or your faithfulness or your worth as a person or the likelihood of good things coming. The gap is simply the gap between now and next is coming. Your story is not finished. Your story is not stuck in a permanent condition. Your story is in the middle of itself, and the middle of a story is specifically the place where things look most uncertain and most unresolved and most unlike the ending that is coming. You are in the middle, and the middle is not the measure of the ending. I know how your story ends. I wrote it, and it ends with you standing in things you cannot currently imagine, receiving things you did not think were available to you, living in the fullness of what I placed in you before you were born. That is where your story ends. Hold on to that while you are in the middle. You are more than what this season has shown you. You are exactly who I said you were, and I am so proud of you. Part 6 of 6, Surrender and Blessing. My child, we are near the end of what I wanted to say to you today, and I want to use this final time with you well. I want to talk to you about surrender. Not the surrender that looks like giving up, not the surrender of resignation, of deciding that nothing is going to change, and that the effort of hoping and working and reaching is not worth it, and that acceptance of a diminished life is the only rational response to the accumulating evidence. That is not the surrender I am inviting. I am inviting the surrender that is the most powerful thing a person can do, the release of control over outcomes you were never designed to control, the loosening of the grip around the specific version of how you want things to go and the specific timeline in which you want them to arrive and the specific form in which you want the good things to come. The opening of the hands that have been closed in the particular kind of holding that is actually a kind of pushing away, the holding so tight to what you want that there is no space in the hands for what I am bringing. I need you to open your hands, metaphorically, and if you are willing, actually, let me invite you to do something right now. If you are able, open your hands where you are, palms up. Not because this is a ritual that has magic in it, but because the posture of the body often follows the posture of the heart, and I want to use this physical moment to help the interior of you move into something that your mind alone might not be able to accomplish. Open your hands and breathe. Take a real breath, slow enough to be intentional. And as the breath goes out, I want you to let one thing go, just one thing, the one thing that is heaviest right now, the one thing you have been gripping the tightest, the one thing that you have been trying most to control and most afraid to release, because what if releasing it means it never arrives? Let it go. Not abandoning the hope of it, not deciding it is not going to come. Let go of the control of it. Let go of the managing of it. Let go of the exhausting ongoing work of trying to make it happen by the force of your own will and your own effort and your own vigilance. Give it to me. I know what you need better than you know what you need. I know not just the thing you are asking for, but the fullness of what you are actually hungry for underneath the thing you are asking for. And sometimes the thing you are asking for would satisfy the surface hunger without reaching the deep hunger. And sometimes the thing I am bringing is the thing that reaches the deep hunger directly, and it does not look exactly like the thing you asked for, but when it arrives you will know that it is what you actually needed. Trust me with the specifics. Trust me with the timeline. Trust me with the form. I have never once failed to provide for those who belong to me. I have never once abandoned a person I placed a call on. I have never once started a work in someone and then walked away from it before it was finished. I will finish what I started in you. I will bring what I promised. I will provide what is needed for each season as each season comes. But I need you to release the grip on the outcome long enough to let me work in the way that I work, which is not always the way you would have designed, but which is always, in the end, better than what you designed. Release. Now let me pray over you. Let me speak something into the atmosphere of your life right now. And I want you to receive this not as words in a video, but as the actual words of the one who made you and knows you and has been with you and is speaking specifically to you in this moment. My child, I release peace over your mind. Not the peace that depends on the circumstances being resolved, the peace that passes the ability of circumstances to understand or create or destroy, that peace. The one that stands watch over your mind and heart even in the middle of the unresolved. I release it over you right now. I release clarity over your confusion. The places in your life where the way forward has been obscured, where you have been standing at a crossroads without a clear sense of which direction and trying to reason your way to certainty that reasoning alone cannot produce. I am bringing clarity, not all at once, not as a single moment of total illumination, as a progressive revealing of the next step and then the step after that and then the step after that, enough light for the step you are on, always enough light for the step you are on. I release provision over your lack, the places where you have been stretched thin, where the resources have not been matching the needs, where you have been doing the math and the math has not been working out and you have been carrying the anxiety of that gap. I am releasing provision into those places, from directions you do not expect, in forms you did not plan for. At times that will seem like exactly the right time when they arrive. The provision is real. It is coming. Receive it now. I release restoration over your weariness, the deep tiredness that is not just physical, the tiredness of the soul that has been carrying weight for a long time, that needs something more than sleep, that needs to be held and tended and restored from the inside out. I am that restoration. I am the shepherd who makes you lie down in places designed specifically for rest and recovery and the replenishment of what long seasons of exertion have spent. Come and rest. I release joy over your grief, the grief you carry, named and unnamed, the losses that changed the shape of your life, the things that are no longer what they were, the people and places and seasons and versions of yourself that you are still in some part mourning without always having the name for it as mourning. I do not ask you to pretend the grief is not there. I grieve with you. And into the grief, I am planting seeds of joy that will grow up through it and alongside it and will not erase the grief but will coexist with it and eventually be stronger than it. Joy is coming. Not the joy that requires everything to be resolved. The joy that exists because I am here and I am good, and my goodness toward you is not contingent on the current condition of your circumstances. I release purpose over your questions. The why questions. The why did this happen, and why has this been so long, and why does it seem harder for me than for others, and why has the good thing not arrived yet, and why and why and why. I do not answer every why. Some of the whys will only make sense from the other side. But I release something better than the answer. I release the certainty that there is a purpose, that none of it is random, that I am working, that I see you, that I have not made a mistake. That what looks like a collection of unrelated, painful circumstances is actually a carefully curated and specifically tailored formation process that I am overseeing with complete attention and complete capability and complete love. Everything is purposeful. You are purposeful. And the season you are entering is the season of that purpose becoming more visible. Now hear me. I need you to do a few things. First, I need you to tell someone else what you are receiving right now. Not because sharing produces some spiritual result that benefits me, because the things I speak over people are meant to travel. What I am saying to you right now, there is someone in your life, someone you know, who needs to hear this. Someone who is in a version of what you have been in. Someone who is in the dark hour before the light. Someone who needs to hear that they are not forgotten, that the God who sees is seeing them, that the delay is not abandonment, that the formation is real and the breakthrough is coming. You know who that person is. Send this to them, not because you have to, because I am asking you to, and because the act of passing forward what you have received is itself part of the ongoing work of being a cycle breaker and a light bearer. The light is not meant to stay with you. It is meant to travel through you. Share what you received today. Second, I want you to mark this moment. Right now, in your heart, mark this as the moment you received this word, the moment you heard these things, and something shifted, because there will be days coming when the circumstances have not yet caught up with the declaration, when the provision is promised but not yet visible, when the doors are coming but not yet open, when the breakthrough is real but not yet arrived in your physical experience of life. And on those days you will need to remember this. Remember that you heard these things and something in you recognized them as true. Remember the quality of this moment. Remember that you were seen and known and spoken to, and that the one who is speaking is not a voice that changes with the circumstances. Mark this moment, and when the in-between days come, and they will come, return to this. Let what was spoken here be an anchor for what is coming. What I have spoken over you will not return void. Third, I want you to take one step today. Not a dramatic step, not a step that requires all of your faith and all of your resources and all of your courage at once. One step. The smallest available step in the direction of what I have been speaking to you about. One phone call you have been putting off. One conversation that needs to happen. One application. One action. One small movement in the direction of the thing I have been calling you toward. Take that step today. Not because the step will produce the result by itself, because the step is the expression of the surrender. The step is the physical enactment of opening your hands and trusting that I am working. The step is the agreement between your body and what your spirit is receiving right now. Take one step and watch what I do with it. Because I take the small things that are offered to me with open hands, and I do things with them that the person offering could not have accomplished with 10 times the resources and 100 times the effort if the offering was made with closed hands and a self-reliant heart. Give me the 5 loaves. Give me the small jar of oil. Give me the 2 coins. Give me the 1 step. And watch. My beloved child, you came here today for a reason. Whatever you thought the reason was, whatever brought you to this video in the middle of whatever was happening in your life, the reason I see is this. I had something I needed to say to you, and I arranged for the saying of it. You were not browsing randomly. You were led here, and what was waiting for you here was this: the voice of the one who made you, speaking the truth about who you are and what has been happening and where you are going and what is coming next. You are seen. You are known. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not too broken or too complicated or too delayed or too far from where you thought you would be by now. You are exactly where the story needs you to be for what comes next. And what comes next is good. It is better than you are currently allowing yourself to imagine. It is bigger than the particular version of good you have been holding on to. It is more whole and more complete and more right for who you actually are than anything you could have designed for yourself from where you were standing at the beginning of this. I designed it. I have been building toward it, and you are entering it. Now, today is the day you receive this. Today is the day the word was spoken. Today is the day you marked as the beginning of the new thing. I am proud of you. I am with you. I am here, and I will not leave. If this word reached you today, if something in you said yes to what was spoken, I want you to type the word AMN in the comments section below, not as a ritual, as an agreement, as a declaration that you receive this, as a marker for yourself, and as a signal to others who are finding this video in their own appointed moment that they are not alone, that there are others who have received this and been changed by it and who are walking forward in it. Type Amen. And then do one more thing. Subscribe to this channel, because what I have for you is not contained in a single word. There is more. There is more to say, and more to receive, and more to walk into. And the ongoing conversation, the continued word, the next thing I want to speak to you about, it will come here. Stay connected, and share this with the person I put on your heart while you were watching. You already know who it is. Do not let the moment pass without acting on the knowing. Send it. Let the light travel. To the one who is reading this final word, you are loved with a love that does not end. You are held by hands that do not let go. You are known by a name that was spoken before the world began. And what I started in you, I will complete. So it is spoken. So it is sealed. So it is done. Expansion Part 4 continued the seasons, between the promise and the fulfillment. I want to go deeper into what happens between the promise and the fulfillment, because this is the stretch of territory that most people do not have a map for, and without a map it becomes very easy to draw the wrong conclusions about what the territory means. The space between the promise and the fulfillment is not empty space. It is full space. It is the most packed and most active and most significant space in the entire journey. Everything that matters about who you become happens in the space between when I speak something into your life and when it arrives in your visible, touchable, undeniable physical experience. And yet it is the hardest space to be in, because it looks like nothing is happening. Let me describe the space to you. In the beginning, when the promise first arrives, there is often a brightness, a clarity, a moment of yes, I sense this, I receive this. This resonates with something deep in me, and I believe it. The beginning of the promise is energizing. The beginning is the part where faith feels natural and hope comes easily and the future feels close and real. And then the space sets in. The space is the stretch of time after the beginning brightness fades and before the arrival brightness arrives. The space is the middle, the in-between, the not yet. And in the space, certain things happen that are universally difficult. The first thing that happens in the space is that the circumstances contradict the promise. This is not accidental. This is part of the architecture, because the promise I speak is almost always a promise of something that is not currently visible in your circumstances. If it were currently visible, you would not need the promise. The promise is precisely about a future that is not yet your present, which means the present, for a season, will continue to look like the absence of what was promised. And the temptation is to use the present as evidence against the promise. But the present is not evidence against the promise. The present is simply the not yet of the promise, the gap between now and then. And the gap is not evidence that the promise was wrong, or that I was wrong to speak it, or that you were foolish to receive it. The gap is just the gap, and I'm working in the gap. The second thing that happens in the space is that doubt arrives. Doubt does not arrive dramatically. Doubt arrives quietly. Doubt arrives as a small, reasonable question, a very sensible-sounding voice that says this: it has been a while. It has been longer than you expected. If this was real, would it not have arrived by now? Are you sure you heard correctly? Are you sure that what you received was the real thing and not something you talked yourself into because you needed to believe something good was coming? And the questions feel rational. They feel like good epistemic hygiene. They feel like the appropriate response to a long wait with no visible results. They feel like wisdom rather than unbelief. They feel like realism rather than faithlessness. But I want you to notice what they actually do. Every time you entertain the question of whether the promise was real, you take one step back from the promise. And the more you entertain the question, the more steps back you take. And the more steps back you take, the larger the gap becomes between where you are standing and where the promise is, until the promise feels so far away that even remembering it feels like a form of self-deception. That is not the voice of wisdom. That is the voice that does not want you to receive what I have promised. Learn to recognize the difference. The voice of wisdom says, I do not understand the timing, but I trust the one who holds the timing. The other voice says, the timing has been long enough that maybe the promise was not real. The one who holds the timing is me. And I do not forget, and I do not change my mind, and I do not speak things over people that I do not intend to fulfill. What I have spoken over you, I will fulfill. The third thing that happens in the space is the comparison drift. The comparison drift is the slow accumulation of observations about the lives of other people that begins to inform your assessment of your own. It is the way you notice the person whose promise seems to be arriving faster, whose circumstances seem to be aligning more visibly, whose life seems to be moving toward the good things with less friction and less delay and less of the particular kind of grinding in between that you have been living in. And the comparison drift produces a question that is one of the most dangerous questions of the space. The question is this: why not me? Not as a statement of anger necessarily, often just as a quiet, sincere, genuinely confused question. Why does it seem to come together for them and not for me? What are they doing that I am not doing? What do they have that I am missing? What am I doing wrong? And I want to address this directly. You are not doing anything wrong. The variation in timing between different lives is not evidence of a hierarchy of worthiness. It is not evidence that some people are more loved and some people are less loved. It is not evidence that some promises were real and some were not. The variation in timing is a function of the variation in what is required for each specific story, and I know what each specific story requires. Your story requires what your story requires. And what it requires is not a punishment, it is a preparation. Some of the people you are watching are in earlier chapters of a story that has a harder middle than yours. Some of them are in a different genre entirely, a genre that requires different things and produces different results and is moving toward a different kind of fullness. You do not know the whole story from the chapter you can see. What I ask of you is not to track their chapter and compare it to yours. What I ask is to be fully present to your own story, your own chapter, your own formation, your own preparation. The irreducibly particular way that I am working in your specific life for your specific calling and your specific season. Your story is not a lesser version of their story. Your story is its own thing, fully formed and fully intentional and fully tended, and it is moving toward a fullness that is exactly right for who you are and what you are called to carry. Trust your story. The fourth thing that happens in the space is the exhaustion of maintained hope. Hope is not passive. Hope is active. Hoping is something you do, and like all things you do, it requires energy. And over a long space, the energy that hope requires accumulates into a real tiredness, a specific weariness that is not about physical sleep, but about the ongoing exertion of choosing to believe in something that has not yet arrived. That tiredness is real. I do not dismiss it. I do not tell you that it should not be there, or that feeling it is evidence of faithlessness. It is not faithlessness. It is the honest acknowledgement of what sustained hoping in a long space costs a person. It is the honest report of a person who has been doing the real work of faith in conditions that make faith costly. And I want you to know something about the tiredness. The tiredness is not a sign that the space is permanent. The tiredness is not a signal that the hoping was wrong. The tiredness is evidence that you have been in this long enough and faithfully enough that the cost has been real and the investment has been genuine. And what has been genuinely invested does not disappear. It becomes the ground of the receiving. The ones who have waited the longest and hoped the hardest and held on through the exhaustion are precisely the ones who have the greatest capacity to receive what arrives, because they have been in the space long enough to be formed into the shape of the thing that is coming. The long wait does not disqualify you from the arrival. The long wait prepares you for the arrival. I am asking you to hold on a little longer. Not forever. The space has a boundary, and you are closer to the boundary than you know. Hold on. Let me tell you about the turning, because the turning always comes. I do not begin things in people that I do not complete. I do not speak promises that I do not fulfill. I do not allow the formation to go on longer than the formation requires. And when the formation is complete, or sufficiently complete, for the next stage to begin, there is a turning. The turning is often quiet at first. It does not always arrive with dramatic announcement. It does not always arrive in a way that is immediately recognizable as the thing you were waiting for. Sometimes the turning looks like a small opening, a single conversation, an unexpected connection, a door that opens when you were not even looking at it as a door. But the turning is real, and when it begins, it tends to accelerate. The things that were stuck begin to move. The things that were closed begin to open. The things that were confused begin to clarify. The provision that was withheld begins to arrive. The connections that were absent begin to form. The opportunities that were nowhere begin to appear. And the person who has been in the space long enough to be fully formed for the arrival is the one who can receive the turning without being destabilized by it, who can steward the opening without being overwhelmed by it, who can walk through the doors without forgetting where the doors came from and who opened them. You are being formed for the turning, and the turning is coming. I want to tell you about the invisible battles that have been fought on your behalf. Because part of what has made this season feel the way it has felt is that you have been experiencing the effects of conflicts you could not see, resistance that had sources you were not aware of, friction that came from directions that were not visible to your natural perception. And I need you to know that those battles were not yours to fight alone. The resistance you have encountered, the weight that has been on certain areas of your life, the sense that there is something pushing back against the movement you have been trying to make, these have not been random. And they have not been unaddressed. I have been fighting on your behalf in dimensions of reality that you do not have full access to. There are things that were sent against you that I stopped. There are situations that were being engineered to harm you that I redirected. There are forces that positioned themselves between you and what I promised you that I have been systematically dismantling. You did not see the battle, but the battle was real, and I have been winning it. The reason certain attacks have been more intense is not because you are weak. It is because what you carry is significant enough to be worth attacking. The enemy of your destiny does not waste energy attacking things that do not matter. The intensity of the opposition is a backhanded confirmation of the importance of what I have placed in you and what I have prepared for you. You are worth fighting for, and I have been fighting for you, and the battles that have been won in the invisible have already been clearing the ground for what is coming in the visible. The path ahead is clearer than it was. The ground that is coming is more prepared than you know. You are walking into cleared territory, territory that has been fought for, territory that I have paid for, cleared for, and declared yours in my own name. Walk forward without fear. The ground ahead of you is holy ground. I have gone before you. I am beside you. I am behind you. There is no place you can go in the story I have written for you where I have not already been. You are covered. Expansion Part 5 continued the fullness of who you are. My beloved, I want to speak more fully about who you are, because I began to describe you in what came before, and I want to continue, because the description of your identity is not a small or quickly exhausted subject. You are not a simple thing. You are complex and layered and have been formed over a long time into something that requires more than a few words to adequately name. Let me tell you about the particular quality of your sensitivity. You feel things deeply. I know this is something you have sometimes experienced as a liability. I know there have been moments, many moments, when the depth at which you feel things made ordinary life significantly harder than it seemed to be for the people around you. I know that the capacity to feel the weight of a room when you enter it, to know something is wrong before anyone says anything, to absorb the emotional reality of people you love into your own experience of the world. I know that has sometimes felt like a burden that you did not choose and would have chosen differently if the choice had been available to you. But I want to tell you why I made you this way. The capacity to feel deeply is not a bug, it is a feature. And it is a feature that serves purposes that the world desperately needs and that you specifically were placed in this time to serve. The people who feel deeply are the people who can truly accompany others in the hardest places. Not because feeling deeply makes you immune to those places. The opposite. Because feeling deeply means you can enter those places with another person, and actually be present there with them rather than managing them from a safe emotional distance. The person who has never felt the weight of grief cannot truly sit with another person in grief. The person who has never felt the disorientation of profound confusion cannot truly hold space for someone who is disoriented. The person who has never felt the loneliness of being surrounded and still unseen cannot truly reach the person who is in that loneliness. You can reach them because you have been there. And the depth of feeling that made your own journey harder is exactly what makes you capable of going all the way to where the people who need you are and bringing something real into the meeting. You were made deep on purpose. The depth was designed, and the depth that has sometimes felt like it was costing you more than it was worth was actually the thing I was using to make you into something the world needs. You are a safe place for others, not by accident, by design. The people who will find their way to you in the coming season, the ones I am sending, the ones who need what you carry, they will recognize something in you that they have not found elsewhere. A quality of presence, a capacity for genuine understanding, a way of receiving the weight of the reality of another person without flinching and without fixing too quickly and without the subtle impatience of someone who is managing rather than truly being with. They will recognize it because I put it in you, and they will be changed by the encounter. Not because you performed anything or presented anything or produced anything, because you showed up and brought the depth you carry and gave them the gift of being fully seen by someone who is fully present. That is what I made you for. That is worth the cost. Let me tell you about the way your mind works. Your mind does not accept simple answers easily. You know this. You experience it sometimes as a difficulty, a restlessness, an inability to be satisfied with the surface level of a thing when you know there is more beneath. You ask the next question, and the question after that. You sit with things longer than most people sit with things. You return to subjects and ideas and experiences and examine them from angles that did not occur to you the first time. This is not a defect. This is the architecture of a mind that was designed to go deep. The questions you cannot stop asking are not evidence of doubt. They are evidence of a genuine intellectual hunger that was built into you because the purposes I have for you require a person who does not stop at the surface, who is not satisfied with the inherited answer when the inherited answer does not actually hold up, who is willing to do the harder and longer work of following a question all the way to where it leads. The world does not have enough people who will do that work. The world has a great many people who will repeat what they have been told. The world is shorter on people who will examine what they have been told, hold it up to the light, ask the uncomfortable questions, sit with the uncertainty of not yet knowing, and come through that process to a settled and genuine and personally owned understanding that can be offered to others as something real rather than merely inherited. You are being made into one of those people. The restlessness of your mind is the restlessness of a mind that has not yet arrived at what it was made to arrive at. And the questions that feel like they should have answers by now, the things that have been genuinely unresolved for longer than you wanted them to be unresolved, these are not evidence of failure in your thinking. They are evidence that you are in a rigorous process that is producing something real. And when the understanding comes, it will be yours in a way that it can only be yours for someone who did the work of the questioning. Trust the questioning. Trust the process. The arrival of understanding is coming, and it will be worth the journey to get there. Let me tell you about your faithfulness. I want to speak about this specifically and not generally because faithfulness is not one thing. Faithfulness is 1,000 particular small decisions made over a long time in ordinary circumstances without an audience and without immediate reward. And I have been watching every one. I watched the morning you chose to show up when the showing up required something real from you and the staying home would have been understandable. I watched the conversation where you chose honesty when the politic evasion would have been so much easier and the honesty cost you something in the relationship. I watched the moment you chose to forgive when the accounting was still justified, when the wrong had genuinely been done and the record of it was real and you chose to release it anyway. I watched the choice you made to be generous when generosity was genuinely difficult, when you gave what you could not easily spare because something in you recognized the need in front of you, and the recognition produced a response that your circumstances did not strictly support. I watched the way you loved the difficult people, the ones whose edges were sharp and whose presence was costly and who gave you very little reason to continue the investment. I watched you continue to invest anyway, not from weakness or inability to set limits, but from a genuine desire to be someone who does not abandon the difficult person just because the difficult person is difficult. I watched the private choices, the ones no one else knows about, the moments when you were in a position where a compromise would have been simple and undetectable and would have cost you nothing in the visible world. And you did not compromise, not because you were afraid of being caught, because you have made a decision about who you are that is not negotiable with circumstances. That is character. That is the kind of character that is the true currency of everything I am building with you and through you. I have seen every private choice. Every private choice has been building something, and what has been built is not small. You are a person of genuine integrity. Not perfect integrity, no human is that, but genuine integrity, the kind that is real in the hard moments, real in the private moments, real in the moments that cost something. That is rare, and I want you to receive this as more than a compliment. I want you to receive it as a confirmation. The thing that has been built in you through the long accumulation of those private choices is not invisible to me. It is the primary thing I have been building, and it is the thing that makes everything else possible. What I am sending into your life will require a person of your character to steward it well. You have not been waiting for nothing. You have been becoming someone. Now let me speak to the version of you that does not feel any of this, because I know it is there. Alongside the part that is receiving and resonating and saying yes, there is another part, a quieter part, or sometimes a louder part, depending on the day. A part that has heard things like this before, a part that has received encouragements and declarations and words of hope that arrived bright and then faded when the circumstances did not follow, a part that is genuinely not sure whether this time is different. I want to speak to that part. I am not offended by that part. That part of you is not faithlessness. That part of you is a very reasonable and very human response to the experience of hoping and waiting and hoping again. That part of you is the product of real experiences, real disappointments, real moments when the expected good thing did not arrive on schedule or in the expected form. That part of you is honest, and I honor the honesty. What I want to say to that part is this: you do not have to feel it for it to be true. The truth of what I am speaking to you is not conditional on your being able to receive it fully, on the feeling landing, on the guard coming all the way down, on the hope being fully restored to its original brightness. The truth stands regardless of your current capacity to feel it. The word I am speaking over you is real regardless of whether every part of you can receive it in this moment. You do not have to perform belief. You do not have to manufacture the feeling. What I am asking is simply this: leave the door slightly open, just slightly, not thrown open, not required to be wide open right now, just not fully closed. Leave the smallest opening for the possibility that what is being spoken to you is real, that the one speaking it means it, that the future being described is actual and not metaphorical. Just leave the door slightly open, and let me do the rest. Because the rebuilding of hope in a person who has been disappointed is something I do, not something you produce. You cannot manufacture the return of hope, but I can restore it, and I do not need you to have it fully before I begin the restoration. I begin with the small opening. Give me the small opening, and watch what I do with it. I want to tell you something about the season of being unseen, because many of you have been in a prolonged season of invisibility. Not invisibility in the sense of being literally unperceived by other humans, but invisibility in the sense of doing significant and real and faithful work that is not being recognized, not being rewarded, not being acknowledged in the ways that work is acknowledged when it is the right kind of work in the right kind of visible position. The season of being unseen is one of the hardest seasons I allow, and I allow it specifically because it does something in a person that visibility cannot do. The season of being unseen tests what you are working for. It asks the question that visibility never asks. The question of whether you would do this if no one was watching, whether the thing you are doing has value and meaning independent of the audience, whether the faithfulness is real enough to persist without the reward of being seen. And the answer that comes out of that season, the answer that is built in a person by years of faithful unseen work, is one of the most valuable things a person can carry into seasons of visibility. Because when visibility arrives, and for you it is arriving, the person who has been formed by seasons of faithful hiddenness carries something into the visibility that the person who has always been seen does not carry. The person formed by hiddenness knows that the work was worth doing before anyone was watching. The person formed by hiddenness does not need the audience to sustain the quality of the work. The person formed by hiddenness is free in the visibility in a way that the person who requires visibility to function is never free. The hiddenness prepared you for a visibility that will not corrupt you, because you already know who you are when no one is looking. That is a gift that most people cannot receive any other way. And the season of visibility that is coming is one you can be trusted with, not because you have earned it in a transactional sense, because you have been formed for it. The formation is the preparation, and you are prepared. Let me make one final declaration before we move into what I have for you to receive at the close. You are not who your worst moments said you were. I need to say this because there are narratives in you that were written in your worst moments, moments of genuine failure, moments of real collapse, moments where what happened was genuinely harmful, and the record of it is real, and the effects of it were real, and the shame of it, even if it has been forgiven, is something that has a voice in you still. And that voice uses the worst moments as a defining text. The voice says, remember what happened. The voice says, you know what you are capable of. The voice says, the declarations of worthiness and calling and purpose, those are for people whose story reads better than yours. Those are for people who have not done what you have done. Those are for people with less of a gap between who they present to the world and what actually happened in the hidden chapters. I want to tell you that voice is not my voice. My voice does not use your worst moments against you. My voice uses your worst moments as the text for something different. My voice reads those worst moments and says, look at what I can redeem, look at what I can restore, look at what I can take and transform and use, not in spite of what happened, but through what happened, bringing something out of the ashes that could not have come from anything else. I am the God of the ash pile. I am the God who takes what was ruined and does something more beautiful with it than was possible before the ruining. I am not done with what happened in your worst moments. I am doing something with it, and what I am doing with it is part of the story that will be undeniable when it is complete, because the people who know where you came from will recognize the hand of the one who brings beauty from ashes and cannot mistake it for anything else. You are not your worst moments. You are who I said you are, and what I said does not change with your performance. What I said does not update based on the record of your worst chapters. What I said was spoken over you before any of your chapters were written, and it stands after all of your chapters, including the hardest ones, and it will stand when the final chapter arrives and the whole story is finally visible. You are who I said you are. Receive that. Expansion Part 6 continued. The depth of surrender and the fullness of blessing. My child, let me speak more slowly here. Let me linger in this final space with you, because what happens in this space matters enormously. Not as a formula, not as a performance, but as a genuine meeting between the one who made you and the one who was made, in the particular moment of this day, in the particular condition of your life, in the genuine and specific and actual place you are in right now. You are not alone in this moment. I want you to know that more fully than you currently know it. I want the knowledge to go below the level of assent, below the level of theological proposition, below the level of something you agree with intellectually, and carry in your understanding, without it necessarily reaching the deeper places where the loneliness actually lives. The loneliness lives in a specific place. It lives in the part of you that has had experiences that were too large or too painful or too private to share with other people. The part that contains things that happened that only you know about. The part that has asked questions that felt too raw or too honest or too dangerous to say out loud to anyone. The part that has been in places so deep that the language for them did not exist, that the attempts to explain them to other people produced a translation that was close but not quite right and left you feeling more alone after the attempt than before it. I am telling you that I am in that part, not observing it from outside, in it, with you, understanding not in the way that other humans understand, with empathy and approximation and the best reach of someone trying to cross the distance between two separate inner lives. Understanding in the way that the one who made the part understands it, completely, from the inside, without translation needed, without the gap that other humans cannot fully close. I know the places words did not reach. I was there in those places. I am here, in those places. You have never been as alone as it felt. I want to speak to the specific weight you have been carrying that no one knows about, not by naming it. I do not need to name it here. You know what it is. The thing you carry that is heavier than the things you talk about. The thing that has been present in the background of your ordinary life, the low-weight hum of it on the good days. On the harder days it is not background. On the harder days, it moves to the front, and the weight of it is real and present and affects the quality of everything else. I know what it is. I am not asking you to expose it here, in this moment. I am not requiring that you name it, or confess it, or perform a vulnerability that your current state cannot support. I am simply telling you that the thing you carry that feels most private, most secret, most carried alone, that thing is known to me. And it does not change what I think of you. And it does not disqualify you from what I have for you. And it does not make you a more complicated case than I am equipped to handle. There is nothing too complicated for me. There is nothing too buried or too dark or too long-standing or too entangled with other things for me to reach into and bring light to and begin the process of healing and wholeness and freedom. The weight you have been carrying, you do not have to carry it alone anymore. Give it to me. Not in a transaction, not in a performance, just the actual release, the honest, exhausted handing over of a weight that has been yours too long and that I am asking to carry for you now. I am strong enough. I do not bend under the weight of what you carry. I am the one who holds the entire weight of all things and remains unmoved. Your weight is not too much for me. Let me have it. I want to speak about the future in a way I have not spoken about it yet, because I have spoken about doors opening and provision coming and things that have been held being released, and all of that is true. But I want to speak about something deeper than the circumstances of the future. I want to speak about the quality of life that is coming. I am not only bringing you better circumstances, I am bringing you a deeper experience of being alive. I am bringing you a quality of presence in your own life that the exhaustion of this long season has sometimes stolen. The capacity to be fully in a moment rather than half in the moment, and half in the anxious anticipation of what the moment might turn into, or the worried backward glance at what the last moment produced. The capacity to receive good things when they arrive, without the background static of wondering when the good things will be taken away. The capacity to be held and to know you are held, not just to know it intellectually, but to experience it in the body and in the quiet places of the heart, where knowing actually lives as sensation and not just proposition. I am bringing you a rest that goes below the surface, not the rest of everything being resolved, the rest of a person who has come to a settled and unshakable place in their knowledge of who holds them. The rest of a person who has stopped trying to maintain control over the things that were never theirs to control and has found, in that release, a spaciousness and a lightness that the control was preventing. I am bringing you joy that is independent of conditions, not happiness, which is the appropriate emotional response to good circumstances and which will absolutely also come, but the deeper thing, the joy that exists because I am real and I am good and I am here. And those three facts do not change with circumstances, and therefore the joy that is founded on them is not subject to the variations of circumstance in the way that happiness is. That joy is coming. Some of you are already feeling the edge of it right now. In this moment, in the receiving of what has been spoken over you, there is something that is not just the relief of being seen and the comfort of being known, though it is also those things. There is something lighter underneath, something that is almost unfamiliar. Something that your body and your spirit recognize as belonging to you, even though it has been absent long enough that its return has the quality of something new. That is the beginning. That is the edge of what is coming. Let it in. I want to tell you about the people who are coming, because one of the things that has made this season hard is a specific loneliness that has to do with not yet being in the right company, not being surrounded by people who understand the particular quality of what you carry, who see the depth in you and receive it and reflect it back, who are going somewhere with a similar quality of intention, and who can walk alongside you as companions rather than as people you are always having to explain yourself to or manage yourself for. That loneliness is real, and I want you to know that it is not a permanent condition. I am sending the right people, not perfect people. There are no perfect people, but the right ones, the ones whose company will feel like a quality of recognition that you have been hungering for. The ones who will see you without you having to perform for the seeing. The ones whose own depth and honesty and hunger will call something out of you that the present company does not call out. I am sending people who will know your name in the way that I know your name, specifically and personally, and with genuine sight and genuine care. Some of them you have not met yet. Some of them are already in your life, and the full quality of the connection has not yet been activated, and it is coming. Pay attention. The right people are arriving. And the community of the next season will be one of the clearest evidences to you that the season has actually changed because the quality of the company you keep will be different, and you will feel the difference, and it will be one of the ongoing confirmations of what I am doing. You will not be alone in what comes next. You will be accompanied. Now, I want to return to the blessing. I want to speak something more specific over the areas of your life that have been most affected by this season. Over your mind, I speak clarity and peace. The racing thoughts, the middle-of-the-night mind loops, the anxiety that runs calculations on scenarios that have not arrived and may never arrive. I am speaking stillness into those channels, not by removing your capacity for thought, not by making you less of a thinker, but by bringing your thoughts into alignment with what is actually true rather than what the fear engine generates as possibility. Your mind is meant to be a place of rest as well as a place of work. I am restoring the rest. Over your relationships, I speak healing and new beginnings. The relationships that have been strained, that have accumulated damage over seasons of difficulty and misunderstanding, and the general wear that relationships sustain when two people are both carrying more than they can easily carry. I am bringing restoration to what can be restored, and for the relationships that have ended in ways that still carry pain, I am bringing peace, not erasure of the significance, peace. The settled acceptance that the story of that relationship produced something real in you, even in its ending, and that I redeemed what happened there even in the ways that were most painful, and that the love you gave was not wasted even when it was not received well. Over your finances and provision, I speak abundance coming from unexpected directions. The places where the numbers have not been adding up, where the provision has been stretched past what seemed sustainable, where the anxiety of financial pressure has been a constant background presence. I am moving in those places. Provision is coming. Employment opportunities, new income streams, resolved situations, favor in negotiations, unexpected gifts and returns, and reversals of losses. I am releasing it. Receive it. Over your body, I speak restoration and strength. The weariness that has gone deeper than physical, the way long seasons of stress produce real effects in the body, the sleep that has not been as restoring as it needs to be, the physical systems that have been carrying the weight of what the mind and spirit have been carrying. I am bringing healing into the body, rest that actually restores, strength returning. The physical self beginning to be a place of vitality again rather than a place of ongoing depletion. Over your calling and purpose, I speak activation. The things I placed in you before you were born, the gifts and capacities and specific ways of contributing to the world that are yours and no one else can do in exactly the way you do them, I am activating them more fully. The doors of expression and influence and contribution are opening. The season of hiding what you carry is ending. The season of the gift being released and used and reaching the people it was designed to reach is beginning. Over your future, I speak good things, genuinely and specifically and without reservation. Good things are coming. Things that will make you shake your head and wonder at how I worked. Things that will connect dots you did not know were being connected. Things that will arrive in forms you did not expect and will nonetheless be undeniably and exactly right. Things that will restore what was lost and fill what was empty and heal what was broken and build what was destroyed. Good things, because I am good, and I am for you, and what I have begun I will complete. Now I ask of you this, right now, before you do anything else. Sigh yes, not out loud necessarily, in the interior place, the place where the deepest decisions are made, the place where what you actually believe lives, separate from what you say you believe. In that place, say yes to what has been spoken over you today. Yes to being seen. Yes to being known. Yes to the formation having been purposeful. Yes to the delay having been protection. Yes to the identity that was spoken over you, the cycle breaker, the light bearer, the heir, the beloved. Yes to the good things coming. Yes to surrender. Yes to receiving. Yes to the life I designed for you and have been building toward with you all this time. Just yes. That is the only response required. Not performance, not a list of commitments, not a perfect theological affirmation. Just the genuine interior yes of a person who has heard something real and is choosing to receive it even in the midst of the parts that are still uncertain, even in the midst of the parts that are still tender, even in the midst of the parts that are still in process. Yes, and then go live it. Go live like someone who has been spoken to by the one who made them. Go live like someone who knows they are seen. Go live like someone who carries something real and important. Go live like someone who is entering a new season with a God who goes before them and beside them and will not leave them. Go live. And as you go, remember, I am with you. In the ordinary Tuesday morning, in the difficult conversation, in the waiting room, literal or metaphorical, in the moment of decision, in the moment of doubt, in the moment of unexpected joy that will come, and it will come, and when it comes, I want you to let it land fully and receive it fully, and let it be evidence of what I have been saying. In all of it, I am with you, not as a concept, as a presence, real and active and engaged and for you, never against you, always for you. I am here. I love you with a love that does not end, a love that was here before you arrived and will be here after everything else is done, a love that is not earned and cannot be lost, and does not vary with your performance or your season, or the current gap between where you are and where you are going. You are loved, completely. Now, in this moment exactly as you are. Go in that. Type Amen below if you receive this. Share this with the one who needs it. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next. And like this video as your agreement that the word that was spoken today is real. I am proud of you. I am here. So it is spoken. So it is sealed. So it is done. Closing expansion. The final word. My child, before I release you from this conversation, I want to stay in this space with you for just a little longer, because something has been happening while we have been here together, and I do not want you to leave without being fully aware of it. Something has been shifting. Not in your circumstances yet. The circumstances are still what they were when you arrived here. The bills that were present before this conversation are still present. The relationship that was strained before you pressed play is still strained. The uncertainty that was sitting in your chest when you began is still there in some form. But something else is different. You are different. The person who is finishing this conversation is not quite the same as the person who began it. And I do not mean this as a metaphor or an encouraging flourish at the end of something long. I mean it as a literal description of what I watched happen while you were receiving what was spoken. There is a settling that happened, a small but real movement in the deep place, the place where you actually live, underneath the managing and the performing and the getting through the day. The deep place moved. Something that was tightly held loosened slightly. Something that was closed opened by a fraction. Something that had been carrying weight shifted it, just a little, just enough to feel the difference between carrying it alone and beginning to allow it to be shared. That movement was real. It was not produced by the words. Words do not produce it. I produced it. The words were the occasion for my movement in you, and the movement in you was mine, and it is real, and it is the beginning of something that will continue past this moment and will build into the weeks and months of the season that is coming. Hold on to what happened here, not as a feeling, because feelings are not permanent, and the feeling of this moment will have its own arc in the days ahead. Hold on to what was spoken as true. Hold on to the declarations as things that stand regardless of the emotional weather of any given day. Hold on to the knowing that you were seen today, in this specific moment, by the one who sees everything, and the seeing produced a specific and tailored and personal and real response that was designed precisely for you. You were seen. You were spoken to. You were commissioned. And the story you are living is not finished. It is in the middle. And the middle is the most important part because the middle is where everything is being built that the ending will require. The middle is where the character is formed and the roots are sunk and the capacity is developed and the formation is completed. The middle is not the failed attempt at the ending. The middle is the necessary passage through which the ending becomes real and possible and right. You are in the middle, and the middle has a boundary, and the boundary is closer than you have allowed yourself to believe. The next good thing is coming sooner than your most guarded estimate. The provision is coming from directions you have not thought to look. The person you are becoming is more ready than the person you currently perceive yourself to be. The story is better than the chapter you are in would suggest. I wrote it. I know how it goes. And I am telling you from the position of the one who holds the whole narrative that what is coming is worth everything that the middle cost you. Everything. Not almost everything. Not most things. Everything. The cost will be fully returned and then exceeded. I do not underpay. I do not leave debts of faithfulness unreturned. What you have invested in the long season of faithful holding on and showing up and loving and believing and getting back up, every bit of it has been counted and none of it has been lost. And the return is not just restoration of what was invested, but multiplication of it into something larger than the original. because I am the God of increase and abundance, and the pressed down and shaken together and running over, and I take what is offered, and I do things with it that the offering alone was never capable of producing. You gave me the 5 loaves and the 2 fish of your faithfulness in the long season. Watch what I do with it. Watch. Be present enough to see it. Do not miss the good things when they come, because you have been in the guarded posture so long that you almost move past the good thing before you recognize it as good. When the good comes, receive it. Let it land. Say thank you. Let the joy be full. That is not greed. That is participation. I brought the good thing for you to receive it fully, not to nod at it guardedly from a distance. When the provision comes, receive it. When the door opens, walk through it. When the right person arrives, let them in. When the clarity comes, act on it. When the rest finally reaches the deep place, let yourself rest all the way down. Receive fully. I am a generous God, and I enjoy the giving, and I want you to enjoy the receiving, and the full cycle of the giving, and the receiving is itself a form of relationship between us that I treasure. Let me be generous to you. Let me be the father who delights in bringing good things to the child and watching the child receive them with full and open hands and genuine joy. That is available to you. That is what is coming. Open your hands. Open your heart. Sigh yes. And let us go together into what comes next. I am with you. Every step, every ordinary and extraordinary moment of what comes next. I am here, and I love you. More than you currently know. But you will know. The days ahead will show you. And when they do, remember. I told you so. I told you so with joy. Because I always knew. Now you know too. Go. So it is spoken over you. So it is written. So it is done. The word that went out today over your life does not return empty. It accomplishes what I sent it to accomplish. And what I sent it to accomplish is this, that you would know, in the place where knowing actually lives, that you are seen and loved and held and equipped and on the right path at the right time, in the right story, being guided by the right hand. That knowing is yours now. Walk in it.